61. First game in 61, I started collecting. It was a big year for me because our high school team was state baseball champs that year. I played for North St. Paul. We just had our 50th reunion last year. And it's kind of nice when you won the state because we can't pretend we were better than we were. That one year we were pretty good, and then the rest is reality. Yep.
How many bats or balls do you have?
Oh, I probably, in my personal collection, I probably have 350, 400 bats and probably about the same in different baseballs. Yeah. And uniforms, like one day when I went out there, they threw away trophies from the minor leagues. And one of the trophies was a trophy a young Bert Blyleven won in the rookie league when he was MVP of the rookie league. And next year, of course, as a young kid, he went right to the big leagues, and the rest is history. And so these are nice perks. You know, when you work for the Twins, you know, they make me go to Cooperstown for Hall of Fame induction. They make me go to spring training for 5 weeks, you know, and stuff like that. My wife doesn't like, she doesn't have the spirit I do. I hope most of you don't, because you'd be considered normal then. And, but she loves going to Florida for 6 weeks, 5, 6 weeks. There are perks of this. Yes?
So when a player hits his 200th home run and the fan gets the ball, and the player and the Twins want the ball, what happens?
We have people. I always say that. Somebody said that once in a talk. You have people? Yeah. We have, in each section of the outfield seats, we have a training session. There's 2 people in each session, ushers that hold the person until one of us can get there. For example, I'll use the example of Tommy. Tommy got every home run he ever hit at Target Field. And we'd go bring the fan, and because Tommy was a DH, we didn't have to worry. The only thing, if we got him right away, he's on the bench, and I'd stick my head in the bench, and I'd say, Jim, we got it. And then he'd come to the locker room, and you put the fan down, and he's got the ball, and Jim says, oh, that's thank you. And it wasn't really a question and answer. Jim would take it. And then he'd say, I've got every one of these. Here's what I'd like to do. And he'd take a game-used bat, and he'd say, what's your name? Tim. To Tim, great catch on my 587th home run, Jim told me. And he'd give him the bat. And there was, wow. You know. Now, in reality, the home run ball, if you could prove it was the ball, and you were looking at dollar signs, and I'm not going to go into that, but if you're looking at dollar signs, it would have a dollar value, obviously, because it's a home run by a guy that's one of the greatest home run hitters of all time. But there'd be no proof it's the ball. You know, you can sit in the bar all you want and everybody can touch it. Well, how do we know this is the ball? Well, I said so. Well, how do we know it isn't a different ball? But if it's a bat signed by Jim Thome saying, nice catch on my 587th home run or whatever, that's cool. You know, so as a collector, I would rather have had the bat proving that he did it with my name on it, and rather than a baseball that everybody gets sick of hearing the story. So the holograms come in handy. So because somebody saw it, they'll put a hologram on it that proves it, and but that's the kind of stuff. The fan can keep it. There's no doubt. And there's things like the first home run ever hit there, was by Denard Span in the exhibition game back in 2010. Well, I brought the kid to my office, and I played Let's Make a Deal, and he's wearing a Joe Mauer jersey, and he didn't really want to give the ball up. He was so excited. So I told the parents I'm going to make him immortal. Well, they wanted to hear about that. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm going to display, I'd already taken his picture in the stands holding the ball. I'm going to display that photo with that ball in a display case, and it'll be displayed forever because it's a first. We have a case of first. And so he can come here when he's 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. He's 13. And he can say, look, that's me. I caught it. Well, that impressed the parents. They said, what do you think, kid? Do you want to give it to him? Well, he's looking at it. No, probably not. And I said, okay, then how about this? I noticed you're wearing a Joe Mauer jersey. And he said, yes, I am. And I said, how about a real one? And he said, well, what do you mean real one? I said, from last year, 2009, and 2009. And he said, and he's looking, and you could tell. So I went next door, pulled out a Mauer jersey, because I had 12 of them the year before, and pulled out one of the jerseys and said, here's the jersey. Used my computer, brought up the hologram number, and I could tell him he got 3 hits against Boston on this date when he wore that jersey. And I said, how about this? Well, the ball came right across the table. And then at the end of the game, I took him in the locker room, and Joe spent 45 minutes with him when he was doing his after-game whirlpool deal, and spent a lot of time, autographed that jersey. great catch, you know, and so forth and so on. He, you know, it was just, that's what you do. You know, I can tell stories about Tommy. If you want to know what Killebreau's like and you didn't have a chance to meet him, meet Jim Tomey someday. He's just a great, great guy. Got plenty of stories. Question back there.
Yeah, last year when somebody hit a home run and he fell into when they couldn't find it.
Yeah, I got home at 1:30 that morning. My wife, I always called, I'll be late. She said, "You're what?" I said, "We got to get the fans out." And we actually tried to find blueprints because it went down, we didn't know how deep it went. So we took the flowers out. If you saw the fans, they were reaching and trying to get it. And then we took the metal racks that were sitting in there out. And then we literally took a hammer with a string and we dropped it down to see how deep it was. And it went down about 4 feet. And so then we got a city intern, seriously, because I'd still be stuck in there. It was very big. And we got boots. We had to find boots for him. And then he went down. I mean, he didn't have, you know, it was on here to him. And then he had to bend down and hold reach, and there was only one ball in there. And that was the home run. So then we immediately put another ball in, and I waited for 2.5 hours because it took us 2.5 hours to get the ball. And after 2.5 hours, I pulled that ball out, and it was just as stained as the other one, so they matched. It wasn't something that had been in there for a while. So then we knew we had the ball. But that's the kind of silly things we end up doing. When I say I don't know what I'm going to do when I go to work, that night we were trying to figure out how deep it was so we didn't lose an intern. You know? Question.
What's your threshold for turning stuff down? What don't you for?
For twin stuff, I wouldn't ever turn anything down. Part of what I get paid for is what I know and do, but part of what I get paid for is they lease my collection. My collection of 7,000 items that I got. When I first, I've been Clyde the Collector, and I worked with the twins. This is my 25th year. And for 21 of those plus, I was Clyde the Collector that worked on an as-need contract. So if they needed somebody to go to Duluth and give a talk about 1965, I've got a big old Victorian house, way back when they were giving them away. And my attic, the third floor, was a ballroom in the old days, so a big attic, but it's all open and big and nice. And that's my stuff up there. So if I think I'm going to put a baseball item any other place in the house, and I try once in a while, my wife is good. She's got antennas. And I'll come upstairs that night, and there, right by the door, sitting with a note, "Nice try." So I've got everything displayed up there. It's been, over the years, like a mini museum. Hey, Lee, you were over at the house one time, way back when. Yeah, there's probably been 25 people up there in almost 40 years, and Lee is one of them, okay? And so it was, you know, it's all displayed. It's this, it's this, it's this, and it is what it is. So I didn't want to give up ownership of my stuff because I wanted to be I like doing the displays as much. Getting the stuff is always a rush, but displaying it and standing there, not saying, "Hey, that's my stuff." I've never done that. Listening to people talk about it and appreciate it, and so let me.